14 weeks before the end of the semester and 14 weeks to add as much counseling and preparation for your son and daughter as they go into the summer before the big college application cycle. So, without further ado, So very quickly to just summarize, we are still obviously awaiting a lot of university results in Hong Kong. There's plenty of university results in Canada and the US and the UK still to come. Singapore application deadlines is in the next couple of weeks for NUS, another month for Nanyang Tech. And so currently from our 36 students in the class of 2026, they have already received offers from these schools. I would say highlights include Imperial College and UCL from the UK, Michigan and Harbor, Purdue, Ohio, Michigan, and Penn State, as well as UIUC from the US, and a couple of great schools in Australia as well. There are schools also all over the world, including Egypt and Malaysia, some additional ones in Canada and Hong Kong, like Toronto and UBC. So again, it is a testament to the school itself and to the students that are applying to many different countries. And when it comes in a few months, many of these students will have a number of offers to then discuss with their families and make a final decision on where they actually would like to enroll. And so acceptances are great, but the bigger decision is coming in a few months as well. And so the more options on the table, it's certainly a more difficult question, but it's a good kind of difficult. Here are some important dates for grade 11. So for parents and students alike, you can take pictures. It will stay up on YouTube as well, so you can always go back to check this as a reference, and I will share the materials to all of you via email. So next week, we have the course registration advisory. Students are going into PowerSchool and selecting their courses. At the end of April, we are also offering a week where students can meet with the counselors to make changes. So that's also an important part. Counselors will go through for the next couple of weeks to ensure that students are meeting graduation requirements and also picking courses that they're eligible for and courses that they will be successful in and that we recommend to help prepare in grade 12 and university. February 27th is the due date that students, we've already had a workshop on this with our grade 11 students, to submit the Google form to request their top 2 teacher recommendations for their university application and their 3rd backup choice. So again, this is an assignment on Google Classroom, and the students do know. We met with them last week and we outlined everything for the second time, not the first time. And then from March 9th, we have a special week for grade 11 parents to book an appointment. Emails have been sent with those calendar invites. You can meet us in person or you can meet us online. So it is an important time to really get some insight from you as a parent, separately, I prefer, not with your son or daughter, to hear what you are looking for in terms of colleges and destinations in countries. Often there are times where the parents and the child have 2 very different ideas, but that's okay because we're kind of looking at, a wide selection of college applications so that you can make those really difficult decisions in the 2nd semester in 12th grade. So right now, I would recommend that we keep our doors open. We ignore the economy, the geopolitics, and really look at which university campus and destination you would like your son or daughter to consider. And then we'll see who says yes. So this is a chance to meet with your counselor one-on-one to discuss that. The next task that students will have is April 3rd, and this will be on Cialfo, where students will need to complete a 10-question brag sheet for each of their first two teacher recommendations. So again, we will have a workshop with our students about this, and the students will simply just respond to those 10 questions. The more they write, the better it will assist the teachers in the recommendation letter. So the details are important there. April 23rd, as a reminder, is our second counseling coffee talk with grade 11 of this semester. We really do prefer to see many of you in person for just to see you, and also for questions and answers at the end of the coffee talk, which we do not stream live. And so the more the better. And then finally, one of the next things on the radar, after we've met with you one-on-one, after we've met with the students, we also assign the task of students have to submit a draft college list. This is not a final list, this is only a draft. We are very flexible and very aware that students and parents can certainly change destination preferences, college preferences, early decision, no early decision. Art students may hesitate, they might want to apply later, their portfolio is not ready. We're very flexible, but what we do want to see this semester is evidence that the student and the parents are taking the college list seriously, that they're building something. And the college counselors are very much here to support and guide and assist and recommend, reach schools, target schools, safety schools. We're here to help. You tell me the country, the major, you tell us this, we can give you guidance. We have historical data and we have direct contact with admissions as well. So please, it's a very simple thing for us to recommend schools. That is probably the least difficult part of our job, okay? So, again, if you have not already signed up, we already have some parents that have registered to meet with us. I know it's in March, but please, if you have a preference in time and day, please do sign up as soon as you can with the relevant college counselor. So half of the grade 11 students are with me, and the other half is with Dr. Hammond. A reminder that myself and Dr. Hammond are a team. We share resources. We have very many shared insights and understanding of the current and ever-changing university admissions across many of the main countries. I like to pick Dr. Hammond's brain. He knows a lot more about liberal art colleges in the US than I do, and just general life in the US, because I've never lived there. Okay. Finally, some of the things in that parent meeting, some questions that we typically hear. So what countries, what college destinations are you perhaps looking at or looking for us to recommend? And how we help? We give you reach schools, target schools, and safety recommendations. More often than not, it's usually the student or the parent that has particular ideas for those reach schools, for those very selective admission teams where the student is, of course, more unlikely to be accepted than likely, but that's the same for everyone. When 5% admission rate is not a high acceptance rate. And so don't feel that it's a personal rejection. This is statistically a common outcome for many students, regardless of GPA. And every year, these selective universities do have their own ideas of the kind of student they're looking for each year for that particular cohort. And so be aware, it's about getting your student, your child out there into that application with a good support in their essays and everything. So this is why we're having the conversation now, so that students can really have a clear idea of what it is they're preparing for next year after the summer. Typical question about expectation of their GPA. SAT, and the number of APs rather than AP scores. Of course, Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, in some cases Australia, AP scores are very key in the admission decision, less so in North America, Canada, and the US. We have data. We have lots and lots of data, and many of our decisions are guided specifically for the last 5 years because of the COVID situation, the change in SAT becoming optional. There's a lot of shift in admissions. And so we firstly have data-driven guidance for you, and it's simply looking at the statistics of a student and where they fit. Are they in that sort of mid-range of students that are getting accepted for that major, or are they falling short, or are they above? And so just data alone, statistically, we can tell you where your son or daughter is currently at. And so, I can say with a lot of confidence that if a student doesn't have a GPA over 3.85 unweighted, they are not going to get into National University of Singapore, Johns Hopkins University, any Ivy League. There's very statistical information that is very clear, but then there's a lot that's not so clear. There's a lot of big ranges at NYU, Boston University, Toronto, HKU. There's wide ranges of data there. And so I cannot say 100% no or yes, because admissions cannot say that either. So it's a very key 2 points: destination and academic standing. Next is an honest conversation about financial requirements, making sure parents are aware of the financial expectations of different countries, the subsidies of Singapore, the scholarships available in the US, the cost differences in the UK. And so we need to know what are the limitations or expectations that parents have for their son or daughter. There's numerous factors to take into play. Is this the eldest child? Is this the youngest child? I've worked with a lot of twins. I am a twin. I know exactly what those twin parents are going through in more ways than one, not just financially. And then finally, grade 12 course selection. So how important is grade 12 course selection? Number one, they want to make sure admissions want to see that the student is continuing this increase or maintaining the aptitude of challenge and their education. They do not want to see a student suddenly stop taking APs or look like they are taking a break in grade 12. In terms of grades, it can be more important for some universities, and we can talk about that during this counseling week meeting as well. Okay? So it's a really good chance to, first of all, discuss these 4 things, but then, of course, if you have other questions, please do have them ready for us, and we're happy to work with you and deal with that. Okay? Meetings are set and limited to 30 minutes. But we're not limiting you to meet us at any time. This is just a week where we're dedicating it simply for the parents. I've heard this a lot for years in South Korea, and now we have it here in Malaysia, and we can call them different things. We can call them agents, but that's a dangerous word because universities have agents. School recruitment and marketing have agents. I like to call them private consultants or education consultants. Now, it is not, we are not married, the student and the counselor, the family and the counselor. This is not a marriage, but it is a relationship of trust. And one thing that I need the grade 11 parents to understand is, without trying to discredit any education company privately out there in Malaysia or China or Korea, I'm simply just going to give you some facts. And so we're not going to debate experience. We're not going to debate student success. I'm going to just simply explain what the international school counselors do and have versus what private consultants do and have. And so you can see from this very simple chart that yes, every person involved in education for preparing students for university can help with building a college list, making some recommendations, and supporting a student in their application and writing essays. Anyone could do that. I very much plan on doing this for my children for free, whether they like it or not. And private consultants do offer these services, but there are services they do not offer. And these services, without them, become very dangerous for a lot of applications. There is a reason that university admissions know who we are. They don't know who private consultants are because they don't verify school records. They do not provide any official documents. No international school gives official documents to students until they graduate high school, because official documents, unfortunately, can be changed, edited, photoshopped. So we do not provide official documents to students ever. If university wants an official document, for example, Waseda University, there are some schools in Europe, some schools in Africa, the student can come to the counselor's office and log into that portal on the counselor's computer and upload the official document. That way, it never goes into the student's possession. So that's very important. That is a common practice for a lot of international schools. So that's one. A couple of obvious things is that college counselors at international schools are in direct contact with universities and their admission teams. We welcome them, they welcome us to their campus, we meet at conferences, we have direct contact, whether it's email or WhatsApp or Kakao or whatever, we have that, and that's built over years of trust and working together in collaboration for providing opportunities for students, not just university admissions, but summer programs and winter programs, online, offline. There's a lot of different things universities offer in the same way that raffles offer a lot of other things, not just high school education. That bond creates a professional relationship, and part of that is the association, the International Association for College Admission Counseling. It is a network of around about 3,000 people on both sides, the admission and the college counseling side. There is not many private consultants that is part of that network. Those that are independent, that are part of that network, it's because they have come from an international school and their membership has not expired. So we are part of a network. It is something that builds trust so that universities are confident that the documents they receive are official and trustworthy and not faked or made up. And so we do provide these services for a reason. I'm not going to get into the debate about us being better than private consultants. In my opinion, that battle has already been won by us. But it's really important that, I think your time and money is best placed elsewhere, not in the hands of private consultants. I understand there is a language barrier, but of course we do have translators as well. And so I would really encourage you, this is something that is a particular concern in Korea, but it's something that in time, parents, the majority of parents have put their faith and trust in the school counselors for very good reason, and this is just a checklist of reasons to do so. So, with that, administration is new. Myself, I'm also new, and so there are some processes that have come in to place with the current class of 2026, and so here are the new policies for 2027. So as I already mentioned, there are 4 college prep tasks this semester for grade 11 students, which I'll highlight in a second. A second policy, which again is supported by years um, of, of experience, but also of common and good practices in many different schools, is that students have a college application limit of 12 applications. Now, while that may seem small to some, please understand that the average student applies to around about 6 to 10 university applications. It's normally, many, many years ago, I was in a school that had no limit. I can only count with one hand how many of them applied to more than 20 colleges, and each one of them was not an academically strong student. It was a student that was just had a large list of reach schools. This was not a prepared college list. This was just shooting for everyone, and it did not work. I've not seen it work for students to just throw applications at anything in the top 50. It does not work. It might get lucky, get one. Another important thing that class of 2026 has been practicing is that students need to submit a university application checklist. This is a school deadline, a counseling deadline, a few weeks before the actual university application deadline. This is to ensure that the school has been officially informed that this student is applying and committed to applying to this school. It gives the students some extra time as well to prepare so that they are not doing this the night before. And as you can see from the QR code, there is also a new college counseling handbook, which has a number of different things outlined, all of our policies, and also some guidelines for every country or every major country that students are applying to, as well as a different range of platforms, not just Common App, but there are many other platforms that students can use in their university. So everything is in that handbook. Please do have a good read. I would sit with your son or daughter and read it with them, or let them read it to you. But we do expect this to be signed and returned to us, the final page, the first week of semester 1 after the summer. So a quick look at the tasks that our students have this semester. You can see we've already covered the semester 1 check-in, checking after their GPA updates and see what they've done over the winter break. They're now in the middle of the letter of recommendation survey. They will then submit the brag sheet on CALFO, which you can see from the icon. I've also highlighted that March is the SAT hosted at this school. In April, the following task after the brag sheet and after we've met with you is to build a draft college list, and we have an activities template for them to begin working on. And then in May, we will have counselor workshops with the English department or during English class time to be working on college essays and going through some worksheets also to help build some ideas and generate some authentic ideas. I want to quickly show you this. I already showed a class of 2027 this statistic. So I've pulled all the data of the SAT scores from each of the current class of seniors, class of 2027, and last year's seniors. You can see at the moment, the reason 30% is there is because 30% is the current amount or percentage of students in the class of 2027 that has even taken the SAT. 70% of current juniors have still not taken the SAT, which, honestly speaking, I'm a little shocked by, that I'm even had to give this to the students at the end of last semester. It's really not good enough in terms of preparation for any country. I would say that looking at the stats of class of 2027, it's quite clear that on average they have a slightly higher math score, but that data is still skewed because we have 70% of students that have yet to take the SAT. It is a strong recommendation. If a student is only applying for mid-range or uh, less competitive schools in Canada and the US, then they would not really need the SAT. Outside of that, in most countries, they're going to need the SAT. And as we go into the top 100 of US colleges, you're going to be very advantageous to have a good SAT score. It's really important. I'm very surprised the number is this low. And so I'm sharing it with you because I shared it with the class of 2027 anyway. And so you can see there is a concern with the English level. And so normally a strong recommendation is that students take 4 to 6 weeks of preparation before taking the SAT. We are currently 5 weeks away from the March 14th SAT. And then on the 2nd of May, they have the SAT again here. There is another SAT in June, but it's not hosted here. If the SAT is still a concern as we go into the summer, then my last attempt of advice for this is to prepare during the summer and to take the August and September SATs because they're only 3 weeks apart. So it's bang, bang. And then hopefully they will never need to take it again. My recommendation is that seniors do not take the SAT because there's too much to do in terms of college applications. And so it's a strong distraction if they have not yet got their SAT score. TOEFL is another one. So this is something really for the summer that students can prepare to get their TOEFL or their IELTS or Duolingo. Again, I've shared this with the class. Generally speaking, TOEFL and IELTS are still the top 2 and most widely accepted. TOEFL does have a home test, but it is not as widely accepted as the internet-based test. So I would look at the particular colleges once the draft list is built to see if the internet-based test is the only acceptance or if the home test is also accepted. The home test is cheaper and quicker in getting the results. So it is becoming slightly more common to be accepted. Duolingo is also another alternative that is becoming more widely accepted. But traditionally and historically, TOEFL and IELTS are the main 2, regardless of the country. There's no country in the world that says we only accept IELTS. They're both accepted. The college list looks something like this. So it's a template that will be given to the students next month on Google Classroom. And it is a live document. So students do not need to submit it. They can continue to edit this template. And so it's just for complete transparency between the counselor and the family and the student to see what kind of schools they're looking at. This is not a contract. This is not a declaration of I am definitely applying to these schools. But certainly the more final this list becomes, the easier it is for the students to prepare the additional essays and in some cases particular documents that need specially prepared for that university. And so on the right column, the student can also add whether it's a dream, a super dream, match, or safety. Again, counselors will manage their CALFO shortlist with these details as well for now. And so, again, we're just as flexible as you are. And so we can't force, I will never force a student to be applying to schools. Some will come with strong recommendations. But yes, this is due on April 30th, along with, the idea again, returning to this of what a balanced college list looks like. And so With the exception of the US early decision, which should really always be a reach school unless you don't want to apply to other colleges at all, then just be conservative. But generally, the focus should really be at least 2 or 3 reach schools with the majority being target with 2 safety schools in mind. Safety schools should still be schools that a student would go to. It should never be a school that is just a safety, but never something they want to go to. And so it's a waste of effort if a student is applying to a school they will definitely get into, but they have no intention of actually matriculating into. It seems like a waste. Again, speak with the counselors. The more dialogue students and parents have with counselors, the more support they receive. I cannot emphasize that enough. We try to be equitable by hosting these coffee talks, by hosting the workshops with students. But if students or parents do not meet with us individually frequently, we cannot force equity here. We cannot be equal with everyone. If some of you never turn up to these parent coffee talks or never book meetings with us, and then 1 week before an application deadline turns up, suddenly you come to us looking for help. That is not an effective way for us to support. That is an emergency contact, and it almost always does not end well for the student. And it's the student that matters the most here. And so I plead with the group of parents in the class of 2027, if you're not communicating together as a class about these things, then many parents will be left in the dark. Many students may also be left in the dark. So it blows my mind that there is not a parent network across each grade for this kind of thing. I know 4th grade parent groups that have this kind of focus on college preparation. So I would really encourage that an 11th grade parent group also has this network, because then we can support all of you equally rather than individually. Moving on, another template we have is for the activity list. Now this template is mimicking the Common App activity and awards section. And so again, it's a live document and it helps students. It's been tailor-made for that purpose of Common App, but you can see as a student builds this, that they can start pulling out the best 2 or 3 or 4 activities for all other university applications. The character limits on each of the fields for position and organization is that of Common App. And again, for students to prepare this early, they're able to make the Common App application very, very simple. And by putting it in this template, they can reuse it for other university applications, whether it's Hong Kong or whether it's the UK or the UC application, which is also what this is made for. So again, we're trying to get students to work smarter, not harder. And again, this comes from years of practice and tweaking and changing things and making it better. So I like to think that every year it gets a little bit better and a little bit more effective. The application limit is 12. And so for most countries in Australia, Canada, Singapore, Korea, Hong Kong, and Japan, those individual universities will each count as 1. In the US, on Common App, each US college will count as 1. So if you apply to 5 US colleges, you are applying to 5 different universities. And so the limit is 12. If a student has given us a final list by October 1st, we will award the students a bonus for university applications after the winter break. So in second semester, they can get an additional 4, which can be used most likely for Singapore, Korea, and Japan, or other late application. For the US, Common App is obviously the main platform for the majority of universities in the US. There are also some individual sites for MIT and Georgetown. There is also on the right-hand side, if I direct your attention to the University of California, is one platform, and we will consider that as one application. So a student could apply to all 9 campuses from UC Berkeley to UC Merced. I did not mean to put it in that way, but there's also another application portal called Apply Texas, which allows students to apply to every university in Texas with the exclusion of Rice University. So students could also use that application platform to count as one. For Canada, they also have their own platform for Ontario. So from universities like Toronto and Waterloo and Brock and McMaster's and Simon Fraser, there's a lot of universities in the Ontario area. We will also consider that as one application. So if Canada, and specifically Ontario, is a destination that you are very interested in, this can also, it's still within the 12 application limit. Okay. Unfortunately, UBC and McGill and a handful of others are not in Ontario, so they are not part of this system. So again, I'll share these slides, but this might be an important one. It is highlighted in the College Counseling Handbook as well. So the checklist, this is what it looks like. I will revisit this with the parents after the summer, so I'm not going to spend time with this, but these are the deadlines. So for Oxbridge and some early applications like the UChicago Early, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, some of the engineering schools in Texas A&M and UT Austin is also in mid-October. Students will need to submit this checklist by September 21st. This does not mean that their essays and application needs to be ready by that deadline. It means that they need to tell us with this checklist that they are officially submitting to that university. November 1st to November 30, which is all the US colleges plus the UC and some and all the early Hong Kong. October 12th is the deadline. So for every university, they submit the checklist. It's not just to keep track of our data. It also prevents students from last-minute applications, and it also makes sure that we have all the right documents ready. I'll give you an example. The University of Toronto requires Q1 grades be sent directly to them by the admissions because it's not in the portal. So we need to know by November 7th is the application deadline, so we need to know by October 12th. This is why this checklist exists. The students could submit this checklist and mess up the application and not apply. It will not affect them. They didn't apply. It doesn't matter if the college says yes or not. It doesn't matter if we did the work and gave official documents to the university. We will not count it, and the student can move on. Worst case scenario. This is the simple part of the checklist that they need to submit. The name, the college that they're applying to. If there's multiple campuses like UC, then they can then identify if it's UCLA, Irvine, whoever, and the major, or if it's undeclared, and then what application type. We actually know the application type, but we want to make sure that the student knows the application type. And so it could be Common App, it could be UCAS, it could be the individual university. And finally, the application due date. Again, we know the due date. We want to make sure the student knows the due date. So, some additional things that I sent out to all secondary high school students. Power School, we have some new features. So, looking on a student, once they log into Power School, they can click on the class registration, When they do that, they will see this screen. There are 2 points that I would like to highlight. First, the little icon guy with the book is the AP potential. So for grade 11 students currently now, it is the potential eligible AP courses that students have for next year. And more conveniently, we also have the graduation requirements. So we've been meeting with our grade 11 students. We've been going through this with students, but now students and parents can actually check this for themselves. And so it's very important for grade 9 and 10, I think, but especially important for grade 11 because we need to make sure that they are choosing courses that ensures they graduate. This is what the graduation progress chart looks like. In dark green, you will see that these are classes that the student has completed and therefore has already the credits, assuming that they passed. And in light green, it just means that they're currently enrolled. So right now it's semester 2. Those are in light green because they have not completed semester 2. There is all of the core subject areas, and then at the bottom there is electives. Once a core subject area has been complete, the additional subjects, for example in math, will automatically go into the electives. And so a lot of students in grade 11 now are really only about 4, maybe 5 elective credits away from graduating. So for the majority of students that we've met so far, there is no required course that they need to take next year except for English, of course, because it needs 4 credits. When you click on one of these, you will see, for example, the electives. You can see what courses are falling into that particular graduation requirement. So it's very intuitive. It's not perfect. We've just got it working. There are another additional credits tab at the bottom. So there are some transfer credits that have gone there. And so if it doesn't look complete for your child, please do look at the additional credits. The remaining credits are there. But your counselors are working with your students to make sure, obviously, that their grade 12 course selection meets all the criteria for college or high school graduation. The AP potential, if you click on the little guy with the book, you will then see the full list of all the AP potential subjects that the student is eligible for next year. We are using both the PSAT and SAT data of each and every student. So again, the 30% of students that have already taken the SAT may have more AP potential because they have a more up-to-date score. So, CALFO update, almost done, I promise. So in January 2026, last month, I sent out emails to each of you individually from CALFO to give you access to your student's CALFO account. So you should have received that email. If you have not, please let me know individually and I can resend it. With that email, you will then get access to the student's CALFO account, which means that you can now look at their student profile. You can look at the long list and the short list. You can actually join in on the fun with college searches and add colleges to the long list and short list of the students. You can also, with each university, not all of them, but with some of the major universities, you can also check out the counselor notes on those universities. So while searching universities, you can then click on notes and you may or may not see counselor's notes on that particular school. It could be things like up-to-date information regarding the application numbers for the class of 2030. It could be new developments in the school. For example, last week, Stevens Institute of Technology have introduced a brand new computer science department that is opening in fall 2026. And so there's a lot of additional information outside of just the information that CAlpha already has. You also have hubs, which gives you access and information to summer programs, university guides, specifically Common App application guidelines, and even essay examples from different countries, including Cambridge, Oxford, HKU, and HKUST. And of course, you will also get access to all the college visits and fairs that are coming to our school. So again, please check that out. If you're wondering where it is, on the home page in CAlpha, it is that icon at the top right, the scholarly graduation cap. You just need to click on that, and you can see it will lead you to this page where it has all of the folders that I mentioned. It also has for each student, it has its own individual hub, which counselors may, as it's a new feature, begin to add very specific materials for that individual student. For example, medical students may have links to Medical Pathway, which is a preparation platform for students that need to take entrance exams for medical school, things like that. We can make it very individual. The main folders is for the general community, so please do check it out. Just final thoughts before you go is please make sure that your child is taking the counseling program very seriously. The tasks are there for a reason, historically proven to better prepare students before they go into the summer. And so it's not graded, it doesn't go in PowerSchool, it's not going on the transcripts. Will it impact and prepare the student for university? Absolutely, that is the point. Another reminder that they are international students with university options around the world, not just Asia. I very much understand that parents and families often want to keep sisters and brothers too, keep their rising senior as close as possible to the home country or the country that they're living in. They're not coming home every weekend. Even if they stay in Malaysia, they're not coming home. If they go to KL, they're not coming home every weekend. You're going to see them in the winter break, and you'll see them in the summer break. If that helps you as a parent understand, I still video call my mother every Sunday. Well, okay, most Sundays. You need to let go and let them experience university life. I would not set the parameters of where they can go in terms of places around the world. Safety is paramount at every university campus around the world. And so please entrust that for them. And through that, I would encourage open and honest communication. Financial expectations is a serious one. Obviously, there are places that is just financially not feasible. And finally, I would encourage all of you to aim high. Let us be the ones that offer you safety nets. But if you're going to aim for colleges and specific universities, at least first look at the greatest place that you could go, the dream school, the school that will make you cry if you get in. It is worth it. They have spent all this time in education, mostly in international school, mostly outside of their home country. They deserve to shoot their shot at a college that is, very selective and a great investment for their future. So with that, thank you, and I hope to see many of you more in the upcoming coffee talks and individual counseling meetings.